Tonight, I will tell you a story that happened long ago in a distant western land, where people believed that some curses stretched across generations and some smiles never faded from the lips of the dead. In those days, amid the icy mountains of the north, there stood a massive gray stone castle on a mountain peak people called the Black Crest. The wind there always howled like groans, and the clouds churned all year round, rarely revealing a clear sky. The owner of the castle was a wealthy lord named Lord Alistair Ravenscroft. He came from an ancient noble lineage, possessing hundreds of acres of land, countless serfs, servants, and knights. But people remembered him not for his wealth, but for a face that never smiled. Alistair at that time was around 40, tall, thin, walking straight like a spear, with black slicked-back hair and sunken eyes. Whenever he crossed the castle courtyard, the guards had to bow, and the maids pressed themselves against the walls. Not because he beat them. In fact, he rarely laid a hand on anyone, but because of the cold aura that radiated from him. In the village below the mountain, people whispered, "That house is wealthy indeed, but it is a land of the dead. Its master never smiles. The castle lights burn all night long, yet no one hears singing or music, only the wind." For many years, the Ravenscroft Castle carried the reputation of being a land of spirits. Many told that on dim moonlit nights, if one stood in the barley fields below and looked upward, they would see faint lights from the highest window, and within it, the silhouette of a woman in a white dress standing there, gazing down at the world below with a sorrowful smile. People said, "That is the former Lady of the Lord, Lady Eveline, who died more than 10 years ago." The story began when Alistair was young. Back then, he was not a man cold as stone. On the contrary, the young lord was admired by the ladies in the region not only for his handsome looks, but also for a warm smile rarely seen. Alistair once had a beautiful love with Eveline, the youngest daughter of a southern duke. Eveline had eyes as blue as a lake, soft golden hair, and a smile unforgettable to anyone who ever saw it. She often said, "A smile is a blessing, Alistair. In this land of endless war, nothing is certain, but at least we can give each other a smile. It is the one thing we never lose by giving away." At that time, Alistair thought her words were simply adorable. He loved Eveline's smile as one loves the sunlight in a cold land. They married under church bells and blessings, believing they would live a peaceful life in the castle on the Black Crest. But peace in life never lasts long. One winter, a plague swept through the region. The villagers below fell one by one. Homes turned cold, kitchen smoke dwindled, cries echoed through every hamlet. Doctors were few, medicine even fewer. Meanwhile, the castle stood high above, thick walls, warm fireplaces, red wine, and stocked food, as though it belonged to another world. The servants advised Alistair, "My lord, close the gates. If we let the sick villagers in, we will be infected," and Alistair agreed. The iron gate of the castle slammed shut. From then on, every knocking, every plea for help was chased away by the guards. But Eveline refused. She crossed the silent hall and approached her husband, looking straight into his eyes. "Alistair, they are starving, writhing in sickness down there. We have more than enough medicine and food. Why won't you help?" "That is not our responsibility," Alistair coldly replied. "I cannot risk the entire castle for a bunch of peasants." Eveline shook her head. "Helping others escape suffering is saving oneself, don't you understand? If we shut our doors today, our children and grandchildren will bear the stain of evil. This sin cannot be washed away. I am the Lord. I must protect the Ravenscroft line first. The villagers are God's concern, not mine." That night, Eveline said no more. She walked through the corridors, looking at the velvet curtains, the oil lamps, the ancient paintings. Everything was too luxurious, too warm compared to the faint moans rising from the valley. The next morning, when Alistair awoke, Eveline had vanished. They searched for her everywhere, the castle, the gardens, the mountainside. Days later, a woodcutter claimed to have seen a woman in a cloak in the snowstorm, heading toward the village, carrying a large leather bag full of medicine. When the plague finally faded, they found Eveline's body by a stream near the village. Her eyes were peacefully closed, and on her lips was still a very gentle smile. From that day on, Alistair never smiled again. But the tragedy did not end there. One night, while sitting in his study on the highest floor, near the burning fireplace, Alistair heard a faint knocking. He turned. "Come in." The heavy wooden door remained shut. The knocking came again, louder, like fingernails scraping the wood. Alistair felt cold down his spine, but forced his voice steady. "Who is there?" A cold gust blew through the window crack. The candle flickered. Then on the wall before him slowly appeared the silhouette of a woman in a white dress. The face was too familiar. It was Eveline. But her eyes were now empty, deep like twin pits of darkness, though her lips retained the gentle smile of days past. Except, the smile never faded. Alistair. Her voice echoed like from the bottom of a well. "You have chosen." From now on, the figure faded, leaving only the pale, suspended smile. This castle shall never know a true smile again. From that day, anyone who tried to smile within Ravenscroft Castle, even a forced smile, felt a cold force choke their throat. The smile died instantly, and people said Lord Alistair had been cursed with the smile by his wife. Many years passed. The plague became an old tale. People had new harvests, weddings, children. But the church bell grew heavy whenever the name Ravenscroft was spoken. One early autumn day, a young man arrived in the region. His name was Rowan, neither noble nor local peasant. Rowan was a wanderer, making a living by telling stories, playing music, and doing odd jobs. On his back he carried an old lute, in his hand a wooden staff, and on his lips, always, a bright smile. Rowan entered the village tavern, asking for a seat near the hearth. He played a few tunes, told a few jokes, and soon the entire tavern filled with laughter. The tavern keeper, a fat man known as Old Gregor, slapped Rowan's shoulder. "Your laughter is strange, boy. It's been a long time since I've heard anything like it in this gloomy place." Rowan smiled. "What's strange about it, sir?" "A smile is a blessing. No one taxes smiles." A few patrons exchanged glances. An old woman shook her head. "Ah, in this village, that's not quite true, lad. Even a smile can carry a curse." Rowan loved strange stories. The mention of a curse only pulled him closer. "Really? Please tell me. Maybe I'll gain a story to share in other lands." The tavern fell silent. People avoided mentioning the castle on the Black Crest, but Rowan's cheerful yet respectful manner softened them. Old Gregor poured more ale and sighed. "Up there is the Ravenscroft Castle. The master is Lord Alistair, rich beyond measure, but he hasn't come down to the village in 10 years. Servants have dwindled. Some ran away, some died mysteriously." Rowan's eyes lit up. "And the curse?" The old woman spoke from her corner, eyes on the ceiling. "Anyone who tries to smile in that castle is choked." "Choked?" "Yes, as though an invisible hand tightens around their throat. They say the lady who died haunts the place, angry that he abandoned the villagers during the plague. Her resentment binds every smile within those walls." Rowan rested his chin on his hand, thought for a moment, then grinned. "Sounds like a ghost story. To you, perhaps. To us, it's real," Gregor said heavily. "If you value your life, stay away from that mountain. Don't go poking around there." Rowan said nothing, but those watching closely saw a spark of curiosity in his eyes. That night, even after the tavern emptied, Rowan stayed awake by the hearth, plucking his lute softly. Gregor was cleaning when he noticed. "Still not heading to bed, boy?" Rowan looked up and smiled. "Sir, if no one can smile in Ravenscroft Castle, what happens if someone brings a smile there?" Gregor frowned. "What foolish idea are you brewing? I'm just a storyteller, but perhaps someone trapped in darkness for years only needs a person to talk to." Gregor stared at him, then shook his head. "In these parts, laughing in the wrong place, at the wrong time, can cost you your life, Rowan. But warnings rarely stop a curious young wanderer." The next morning, as frost still lay across the fields, a brown-cloaked figure with a lute on his back climbed the winding stone path to the Black Crest. As Rowan neared the castle gate, he finally understood why the mountain was called the Black Crest. The rocks were dark, moss-covered, and the barren trees stood like skeletal arms reaching skyward. The massive iron gate was slightly ajar, rust creeping along its hinges. Rowan knocked softly. The echo stretched long, as though someone inside repeated the sound. After a moment, the door creaked open. A weary, gray-haired man in a servant's cloak appeared. His face was gaunt, eyes heavy with fatigue. This was Stefan, the castle's steward. "Who are you? What do you want?" His voice rasped. Rowan smiled politely. "Sir, I'm a wandering storyteller passing through. I heard Ravenscroft Castle is famed for its grandeur, but strangely quiet. I'd like to offer some music and tales to cheer the Lord, in exchange for a meal and a place to sleep for the night." Stefan studied him head to toe, saw no weapons, only a lute and bright eyes, and sighed. Smiling so much. You don't know it's forbidden here? Rowan grinned. I'm used to it, sir. My face looks odd when I'm not smiling. After hesitation, Stefan nodded. Come in, but if anything happens, I take no responsibility. Inside, the castle was colder than outside. Though fireplaces burned in some rooms, the air felt veiled by an invisible mist. Rowan noticed the servants moving silently like shadows. No talking, no smiling, not even eye contact. He whispered to Stefan, "This place is too quiet. Here, noise tends to bring other things," Stefan muttered. "You'll meet Lord Alistair tonight. Rest in the guest chamber until then." That night, Rowan was summoned to the Great Hall. Lord Alistair sat at the head of the long table, covered with a white cloth and meager dishes. The atmosphere was not of a feast, but of a gathering after a funeral. Alistair's cold gaze fixed on Rowan. Rowan bowed. "Lord Ravenscroft, it is an honor for a humble storyteller like me to enter your renowned castle." Alistair said slowly, "I dislike flattery." "Very well, then I'll tell a story without flattery. Only truth," Rowan replied with a gentle smile, careful not to grin too broadly. Rowan told amusing tales from his travels, a knight slipping on a banana peel, a countess obsessed with cats who ordered everyone to speak in meows. The servants' eyes shimmered, their lips trembled, but no one dared laugh. Alistair remained still, hand resting on his wine goblet. Rowan increased the humor, pacing the story expertly. At the climax, a young maid couldn't hold it and let out a giggle. Immediately, her smile froze. Her hand flew to her throat. She coughed violently, face turning purple. The hall panicked. Stefan rushed forward, striking her back until she gasped for breath again. Tears running down her cheeks, silence fell like frost. Alistair set down his goblet, his eyes sharp as blades. You see now, here, laughter is a luxury. Rowan looked around, each face hollow, eyes dimmed of light. He bowed his head and whispered, "My apologies. I did not know the curse was real." Alistair let out a dry half smile, one that didn't soften his face, merely pulled at the corners mechanically. "They call it a curse. I call it punishment." Rowan met his gaze. "Punishment? From whom? To whom, my lord?" Alistair gave no answer. He stood. "Stefan, prepare the west chamber for him, and keep him from wandering, especially the highest floor." Naturally, such instructions only provoked more curiosity in a storyteller. Night fell. The castle sank into total silence. Rowan lay awake, remembering the choking maid, the servant's sorrowful eyes, Alistair's frozen face. Helping others escape suffering is saving oneself. His mother's voice echoed. She had said it countless times in their shabby wooden hut. Rowan, orphaned young, survived only because strangers helped him. He believed firmly. If he could help, he must. Here, he sensed a suffering worse than hunger, the inability to smile. A reckless thought struck him. If the curse is real, it must have a source, and that source is on the highest floor. The place he forbade me to enter. The door to his room wasn't locked. Rowan slipped out. The hallway glowed faintly from wall lamps. Windows rattled in the wind. He moved silently. The castle at night seemed alive. At the far end sat a stairway barred by a rotting wooden latch. Rowan lifted it and climbed. The higher he went, the colder it grew. This was where Lady Eveline once lived and where Alistair had secluded himself for years after her death. Rowan reached a large door. As he reached for it, it opened on its own. Moonlight streamed across white-draped furniture and dusty glass cabinets. In the center stood a large armchair turned away from the door. Rowan swallowed. "Is anyone here?" The chair didn't move, but wind swept through the window, rustling the curtains. In that moment, Rowan clearly saw. On the chair sat the shadow of a woman, long hair flowing, white dress draped. And in the mirror before the chair reflected was a smiling face. A pale, fixed, unnatural smile. Rowan stumbled back, but then he realized the face in the mirror was not a woman's. It was Alistair's. Rowan circled the chair. Alistair sat slumped, hand to his brow, eyes hollow, staring into the mirror. On his lips twisted a distorted smile, held unnaturally in place. Rowan whispered, "My lord, what are you doing?" Alistair did not startle. He didn't seem surprised at all. "I am practicing how to smile. Practicing. Since the day she left, I could no longer smile. Then I was no longer allowed to smile. But I want to remember what it feels like. So each night I force myself to smile into the mirror." Rowan shivered. The smile looked like a tear carved across his face. "But if you smile sincerely, the curse will choke you?" Alistair looked at him in the mirror. You believe in the curse, storyteller? Rowan nodded. I believe what I saw. Today, one maid smiled and almost died. Alistair sighed. It is punishment, not only for me, but for everyone living in this castle. I shut the gates when the villagers needed me most. Eveline begged me. I refused. He closed his eyes. The night she died, she visited me in a dream. She was smiling. She said, a smile is a blessing, Alistair, but from now on, blessings will not remain here. And then anyone who smiled was strangled. Rowan thought for a moment. But have you ever considered the curse is not on the smile, but on the unredeemed sin? Alistair turned sharply. Who are you to speak to me of sin? A storyteller who carries his mother's teachings, Rowan replied softly. She said, helping others escape suffering is saving oneself. You did not help them, and so you've lived in your own hell for 10 years. Alistair let out a bitter laugh and instantly clutched his throat as something invisible squeezed. Rowan saw veins swell on his neck. Without thinking, Rowan grabbed his shoulders. If you die from laughing now, you won't even have taken the first step toward redemption. Will you carry that sin to your grave? As if hesitating, the invisible force loosened. Alistair gasped for air. Then Rowan saw, reflected in the mirror behind Alistair, a white figure at the window, long-haired, white-dressed, eyes deep and sorrowful, a faint smile on her lips. Eveline. Rowan spoke to the reflection. If my lady truly wishes to end suffering, should she not allow him to do what is right? Keeping this curse only prolongs misery. The figure's eyes flickered, her smile dimming with sadness. Then she dissolved into moonlight. Alistair collapsed into the chair, trembling. You spoke to whom? To the one you loved and still love, Rowan said gently. And the one you hurt. Alistair wiped his eyes. What must I do? Rowan answered firmly. Tomorrow, open the castle gates. Open your granaries, your medicine stores, and your heart. You cannot save the dead, but you can save the living. Help them escape suffering. That may be the key. The next morning, something happened that had not occurred in 10 years. Bell of war, but the bell of invitation. The iron gates opened. Stefan and the guards were sent to summon the villagers. People looked at one another with suspicion. Is it a trap? Out of food, so they're begging us? That cursed castle abandoned us once. Old Gregor stood among them, seeing Rowan beside Stefan. He smiled. Go, at least, see what happens. Inside the great hall, long tables were set. Bread, smoked meat, hot soup steaming. The aroma filled the air. As villagers entered, servants bowed. Please eat. By order of the Lord, the villagers were bewildered. Some shielded themselves as though expecting blows, but none came. The servants bowed sincerely. Alistair appeared, dressed simply. He spoke steadily. I have wronged you. Gasps filled the room. No one imagined such words from a lord. Years ago, during the plague, I closed the gates and abandoned you, even when my loved one begged me to open them. Because of that choice, I lost my wife, and ever since, I have lived under the curse of my own conscience. He swallowed. I cannot bring back the dead. But from this day forward, Ravenscroft Castle will remain open. Food, medicine, even shelter will be shared when needed. I do not ask for forgiveness. I only wish to begin atonement. An old woman stepped forward, trembling. My daughter died in the plague. I hated you for decades. She stared at Alistair. I cannot forget, but this young man, she pointed to Rowan, said clinging to hatred only hurts oneself. If today you are sincere, she sobbed softly, I cannot forgive yet, but I will accept this bowl of soup as the first step of your repentance. The hall shifted. Spoons clinked. People breathed easier. Rowan leaned against a pillar, heart lightened. Alistair stood quietly, watching the villagers eat. In his eyes, for the first time, was something like sunlight after rain. Rowan approached. You helped them escape suffering. How do you feel? Alistair looked around. Something lighter in my chest. As if a stone moved. Rowan smiled. Perhaps that is the cure to the curse. Alistair smirked. I won't dare smile truly yet. I don't want to collapse in front of the villagers. Rowan didn't insist. He knew a decade-old burden would not lift in a day. That night, after the villagers left and servants finished cleaning, the castle felt less oppressive. Some servants whispered to one another. No one laughed yet, but their eyes were different. Stefan placed a hand on Rowan's shoulder. You did what no one dared for 10 years. Rowan smiled. I just told the right story at the right time. That night, Rowan returned to the highest floor. This time, the door did not open by itself. He knocked. Enter, Alistair's voice said, lighter than before. The Lord stood by the window, looking down at the village. Lights from homes glimmered like tiny souls. She used to stand here, saying those lights were living souls. I'd forgotten that view. Rowan listened quietly. I opened the gates today, gave food, medicine, money, but it still feels insufficient. It was only the first step, Rowan replied. Helping others escape suffering is not one grand gesture. It is a path. You have begun. The road ahead is long. Alistair studied his hands, the same hands that once ordered the gates shut. I've thought much on your words. Perhaps the curse didn't come from outside. It came from cowardice within me. Rowan asked softly, would you like to try? Alistair frowned. Try what? Rowan pointed at the mirror. Smile, again, but this time not a forced smile. A smile for the good you did today. Alistair looked at him as if he were mad. You want to kill me? If the curse remains, it will choke you. If it weakens, you will know. Silence thickened. The wind outside howled. Alistair approached the mirror. In its reflection stood a weary man, graying, wrinkled, weighed down by guilt. Rowan whispered, think of Eveline. If she were alive today, seeing you open the gates, what would she do? Alistair pictured her, holding peasant children's hands, giving them bread, smiling at the servants. Her voice echoed, a smile is a blessing. I wish this castle had many smiles. Alistair opened his eyes. Slowly, painfully slowly, he smiled. Not a forced, twisted grin, a faint, sincere smile rising from his heart. Rowan held his breath. A cold wind slammed into the room. The candle went out. The mirror vibrated. A distant, eerie laugh echoed and disappeared. Alistair waited for the choking. Nothing happened. His throat felt dry but free. Then, in the mirror, his reflection faded, replaced by another face. Eveline. Clearer than ever. No haze, no cold. Eyes shimmering, smile warm. Alistair. Her voice gentle as spring. At last. You can smile again. Alistair collapsed, tears falling. Eveline, I was wrong. She shook her head. I know, but we cannot punish each other forever for one mistake, however grave. You have begun helping others escape suffering. That is the only path to saving yourself. She looked at Rowan. Thank you, traveler. Helping others escape suffering is saving oneself. Traveled far, to the right place. Rowan bowed. My lady, I only repeated my mother's words. The true choice was his. Eveline touched the mirror, her hand passing through like water, brushing Alistair's cheek. He felt a fleeting warmth. The curse ends now. But remember, Alistair, blessings or calamities begin in the heart. Let this castle be a refuge, not a place spoken of in fear. Moonlight brightened, her figure blurred, dissolved into a tiny speck of light, then vanished. The mirror reflected only a kneeling man, tear-streaked but smiling. Rowan placed a hand on his shoulder. The curse is gone. The rest is your story with your people. Alistair nodded, crying like a child. I will make this castle a place she would be proud of. In the years that followed, the Black Crest was no longer as gloomy. The rocks were still dark and the winds cold, but Ravenscroft Castle had changed. The gates never closed again. In winter, village children came for warm coats and hot soup. Flooded families stayed in the west chambers. The great hall echoed with music, laughter, and storytelling instead of dread. Lord Alistair never became a jovial man. He remained quiet, eyes tinged with sorrow. But his smile was no longer a scar, rare but real. And the strangest thing of all, the curse truly vanished. No more choking when people laughed. Servants first chuckled nervously, then openly. Children's laughter echoed in the halls. As for Rowan, he did not stay forever. One day he donned his cloak, slung his lute, and continued his journey. Before leaving, Alistair pressed a small pouch of coins into his hand. A little gold. I know you aren't wealthy. Rowan shook his head. I have something more precious now, my lord. What is it? Rowan winked. A story. He walked down the path, playing a cheerful tune. Gregor watched from the village gate, shaking his head. That boy leaves trouble wherever he goes. The pleasant kind of trouble. Children tugged his sleeves. Grandpa, is the haunted castle still scary? Gregor smiled. Yes, but now it's a story told with laughter, and sometimes a tear or two. Far away on another road, people saw a young man sit by a tavern fire, telling strangers, would you like to hear a tale about a cursed castle, a lord who could not smile, a lady who died with a final smile, and a saying that a smile is a blessing, helping others escape suffering is saving oneself? They gathered closer. That night, the tavern filled with music, storytelling, and laughter spilling into the starlit sky. Meanwhile, on the distant Black Crest, in the highest corridor of the castle, some still claim that on bright moonlit nights, they saw a woman in white walking gently through the halls. She neither cried nor moaned. She only laid her hand on the stone walls, smiling softly. That smile was no longer a curse. It was a blessing for all who understood. A smile is a blessing. And when we help others escape suffering, we unlock our own prison.